high energy session or the introduction for all of us. A very good morning to all of you who have taken the pains to come weathering the Mumbai traffic and come here and listen to an esteemed panel. Thanks to ET as well for making this happen. The session obviously is at the core of what we are all aspiring to do and make happen in our booming economy. Omnichannel needs no introduction. We all know what Omnichannel stands for. I think the purpose of this session is to learn from the leaders sitting on the stage that what it takes to really run a capable omni-channel operations in its various forms and hues. So we have got a very diverse panel on the stage, marketplaces, brands, and underpinned by a lot of data analytics, which is obviously the heart of omni-channel for us. I think there's a decisive shift in the way Indian consumer ecosystem is evolving. Clearly, e-commerce is the huge growth engine, pandemic notwithstanding, post-pandemic as well. The fire in the belly continues. There's a lot of spurts and starts as we look at the wider consumer economy, but e-commerce is chugging along, expected to almost cross $100 billion pretty shortly in the next couple of years as well. So there is a lot of growth and momentum which is driving the business, and it is, the best part of this growth is it's very secular. It's happening in what we call as India 1, India Alpha, the way you want to call it. It's happening in Tier 2, Tier 3. So it's quite well settled in a way. But obviously, the journey, as we always say in India, is glass half full for the simple reason that online today is just maybe 6-7% of the total retail that we do in India. And when you look at some of our bigger economies, we are hopefully going to be the number 3 economy pretty soon in few years' time. And we compare with the top 2 economies, US and China, the numbers are at least 5 to 6 times of what we do in India today, with much bigger economy. So you can see the amount of runway which is available for growth. So clearly there is a lot of growth, a lot of action going to happen. Models need to evolve. Idea of this session would be to really unpack what is working for brands today, what needs to be kept in mind as you tackle this growth paradigm. So a warm welcome to all of you. And I would start not in any specific order, but maybe I'll just start with Sandeep here. So Sandeep, the question for you would be, given your vantage view, given the way you've seen brands operating on your platform, what do you think are some of the characteristics of brands which have actually got the omni-channel equation right? What are some of the learnings which you think have helped some brands to really manage this channel very well? And what are some of the things which brands typically not end up doing so well, which kind of keeps this hunt for the right operating model going on?
I think, firstly, Ravi, thanks for setting the context of the importance of omnichannel, right? I think you were quoting some landscape numbers, and I must say, before I answer the question, I'd like to add that the most evolved economies, right? You mentioned India will be third, but if you look at the most evolved e-commerce industries or economies like the US and China, online is huge. It is 5-6 times of India, but it is still only 20-25% of that country's retail size. So 75 to 80% is still offline, even in a evolved economy like the US or China. So that's why omnichannel is important, and that's why we are having this conversation today. Now, coming to the Indian landscape, it's the same, right? One, just like I've mentioned about the US and China, in India, I treat the customer not like an individual, but for me, it's more like a household. A household is my customer, right? A customer group. Within a household, if you see, the preferences are different, right? My father, for example, would like to go offline and buy groceries. If I am asked to buy something, I'm not going to step out of the house. I'm going to use a JioMart or a Zepto or one of the apps to place an order, right? So that's how we treat. Now, when you're looking at the customer's household, then it is not homogeneous, right? You're not looking at one metrosexual customer saying that, hey, this guy will have the app on the mobile phone and I'm easily able to reach them. That's not how you think. So what becomes very important for a brand to succeed is to be able to understand a non-homogeneous customer base, but at the same time give a homogeneous experience. When I say homogeneous experience, when different customer or the same customer walks into your store online or offline, right? Be it a metro city, be it a tier 2 city, be it a village, right? The experience the customer gets is exactly the same. That becomes very important. When brands understand this, they're able to reach the customer and convert them better. So to begin with, I would say a very, very clean and homogeneous customer experience becomes important. That's across the selection available, offline or online, the pricing, the offers, the packaging, everything should be exactly the same. That is the true definition of omnichannel, right? That is number one. Number two, brands have succeeded, and I'll tell you, right, it is not just for the longest, we've assumed omnichannel means an offline brand also being online, right? That is not true, right? What omnichannel means, an predominantly offline buying brand going online is omnichannel, and an online brand also going offline is also omnichannel, right? Saying that I'm already online, I don't need to do anything is not the right approach. Right? For every brand, you will need to be omnipresent, and omnichannel is the way to do that. Right? The examples from our ecosystem, if you see, brands like Zivame, Urban Ladder, when Reliance partnered with them, they were online only. Right? They were doing a pretty solid business online. But then once the collaboration with Reliance happened, we quickly realized that there is a huge opportunity offline also. So now Zivame has as many stores offline. Urban Ladder has a lot of stores offline, right? These are examples of brands that were originally online but have moved offline. So being able to understand what omnichannel means becomes important. Third and the most critical thing, right, I think is technology, right? For a brand which is getting started now, investing in a technology that caters to a omni-channel strategy is easier. But if you look at the history of India, right, retail is an oldest industry in India. The offline companies existed, they already had technologies. Now they'll have to build new technologies or adapt to their existing technology to also sell online and vice versa. It becomes very important that your technology is seamless and you're able to do it faster. Third and the most important piece is the delivery experience. When a customer walks in, you're able to control it. You have your SOPs already laid out. So it's much easier for you to audit and control the experience, the delivery experience you give to a customer who's walking in offline at a store. How are you able to replicate it online, right? What are the SOPs you use? What is the packaging you use? If you're able to handle these three touch points for a customer, right? The three touch points are when the person looks at your store, online and offline. Technology makes a difference. How you merchandise offline makes a difference. Then when they receive the package, that becomes another touch point, right? So if you're able to ensure that all these three touch points are handled, then you are going to do a good job. I'll come to what doesn't work well maybe after we hear from the others.
Thanks, Sandeep. I think that gives us a good perspective overall as to what's making the brand stick in this space. And as you rightly said, how do you give a seamless experience becomes very important. Maybe my next question is to Sumit. Now, Max obviously is a fantastic brand, and a lot of retailers have realized the value fashion journey, which Max actually pioneered in the country, and you've been super successful in the offline world. So, what would be a motivation for a brand like Max to really embrace omnichannel or embrace online? How do you think about incrementality to what you have already achieved when you think about your business model? So, how does omnichannel help you drive some of those considerations?
Yeah, thanks. I think the way to look at this is that is the customer more valuable to me if he's omni versus only offline? And I think for a traditional mindset retailer, who's a brick and mortar retailer, it normally says it's about profitability. It says, you know, hey, if I go online, I'll actually lose money for the same customer, I actually spend more money. So is it really worth it? And that's a very traditional mindset. And people who are steeped in brick and mortar retail will always think like that, right? So the point here is to break that barrier. It's easier said than done, is to say that, and we've realized this ourselves, Ravi, that The fact is that every customer who is both online and offline, the revenue goes up by 1.6 times. I think that's an amazing statistic. The more people are there with you online and offline, which means basically in today's world, what it means is you're residing in his pocket. And if you can give him motivation to open it again and again and again, then you become an integral part of his journey. For example, I'm sure all of us have some kind of a travel app in our phone. Every time you want to check a flight, whether that goes, where does it go, what time, even not booking. Okay, that's one of the apps that you open probably. All of us probably have it. Or say, for example, if you want to check the price, you are at a store, you want to check the price, you'll probably have a favorite app to do that. The question is that as a mono brand, can I become that app to check the latest trend, to check the latest fashion, to check what's happening? If I can achieve that, I can be a partner in your journey, right? Then I'm there. Because then you will open my app and you will discover more and more product. And that we know that once that happens, both online and offline goes hand in hand. So I think coming specifically from a offline retailer, I think that mindset needs to be broken. And there are many brands today who say, we will not do online. We will only do offline. There are umpteen examples, right? But I think one must not do that, because while we know that the market will evolve and so on and so forth, this part of the market will evolve, but that's not even the point. The point is you have to be part of the consumer's journey continuously. And you can only do that if you're omni. And I think that's our endeavor. We are baby steps right now, but that's really the direction that we want to go, that how can we partner you in your journey? And I think all brands should think from that perspective.
Very well said. As they say, maybe in ice hockey, go where the puck is, right? So you are literally doing that, right? Go where the consumer is going today, where she is operating today. No, absolutely very, very relevant as well. Maybe I'll go to Himanshu now, who's sitting at the center of our panel. And I would try to build a divergent point of view to what we heard Sandeep say in the beginning of the conversation, that omnichannel is all about homogeneity. Let me pose a slightly more provocative question to you, that actually, all of us sitting in the room think about India not as one, but winning in many Indias, right? WIMI as a strategy is very well understood. So let me pose a counter question to you and say, actually, omnichannel gives you the power of heterogeneity. You need to fundamentally treat a consumer sitting in Bijnor very different from a consumer sitting in Bangalore. Do you believe in that? And how do you think a consumer fundamentally sitting in tier 3, 4, 5, Bharat is different from a metro or a tier 1 consumer? Do you think they are different, or we need to be similar?
So it's a very interesting question, and I think I'll just give a little bit of background to answering this. Essentially, if we look at the market in India, we operate in the value lifestyle segment. So I'll largely focus on value lifestyle segment, which is where we operate. Now, one of the things that we find is we will first talk about it from, I think somebody was talking about percentages. Roughly 92% is brick and mortar, 8% is online currently of that market. However, having said that, the customers who are coming into this fold online are largely from tier 2 and beyond, for the simple reason that you have approximately around 800 million odd people who have access to internet and to do things there, out of which only 200 million or 20 crores are shopping currently. Out of this, roughly around 50% is people like us who have been at it for a long time. 50% are the ones who came in after Jio came into the picture. They are from smaller Mufassil towns, smaller towns, etc., etc. Now, the next 200 million is quite obvious, is all going to come from the aspiring segment, which is the value segment, because whoever had to be online is by and large already online. So the next 200 million from the 600 million who are already on on internet is going to come in from this segment. Now, how is this segment different? And that's the question of heterogeneity. This segment is currently accustomed to the experiences which are getting created online by players who create the experience for the metro audiences. All experiences that get created are for metro audiences. That's why the checkout processes are complicated. There are 3 cards getting created. Everything is very complicated, which comes very easy to all of us. Yeah, but imagine a customer who's shopping for the first time. Then we kept talking about, content and ratings and reviews and detailing and specs and, the reality is when the customer is shopping for the first time, there's great joy in simplicity. Yeah, this complicated mechanism which is coming again metro down is something which is not, it is and then the important question of heterogeneity also comes to language, right? Um, Everything is in English. Difficult language complications, notifications. Yeah, they tend to operate in their own languages. In fact, if you look at it, almost 76, 77% of our business comes from tier two and beyond, smaller towns of our business. The bigger issue is that even the brands, the larger brands, which are their national brands, one, most of them operate in the premium space, and even the ones that operate in not so premium space are not largely not there in the smaller towns because they're all starting from metros and going on from there, tapping the opportunity. So to this consumer, in the physical retail space, you have shops. The shops in the value space, if you have yourself shopped, the quality in India is fairly dodgy. So they get not a great experience, they get not so great merchandise. The brands are obsessed with the bigger cities and going down from there, yeah, population strata wise. And the online platforms are meant for the audiences like the audience here. Yeah. But the opportunity, unfortunately or fortunately, lies elsewhere. So that's why we all need to work together, and we would invite all kinds of, we are digitally very equipped. We are happy to help people go over this crisis. It's quite easy. There is the simple thing of cataloging, which we can help with. And then there is, Unicommerce equivalent, which is plug and play across multiple marketplaces. So life is much easier than it was 5, 7, 8 years back. So you can get onto the journey. It can be small brand, big brand, good quality at the value level is something which can make a difference. But the point that your point is absolutely right. It's not a homogeneous audience. It's extremely heterogeneous.
Thanks. I think some great insights, right? We need to make the consumer comfortable in embracing this new channel, right? Because they have been consuming it from their neighboring retail ecosystem for decades. They've been living there for decades. They're not moving around like the way we do. So it makes a lot of sense. Dhruv, I think again, just a different flavor of how the consumer is operating in this channel, and she is literally elusive, right? Very deal hunting, assortment oriented. Where am I getting what I want? So the challenge, at least, is how do I stay close to this kind of a consumer who's always moving around at the click of a button, click of an app, from app A to app B. So the whole importance of engagement in this very frictionless world of retailing literally is becoming even more challenging. With a lot of rules and regulations coming our way, which all of us know, whether it is Indian regulations or enforced by the tech ecosystem, how do you actually think an engagement strategy is going to work in an omni-channel world? What do you think are some of the nuggets there of engagement?
Got it. Before I answer that question, I'll also just set some context in terms of, with what lens I'm sort of trying to answer this question, which is basically we help brands power engagement across different channels, which is powered by a lot of insights that we have about the end user, right? And in the retail space in particular, which we talk about offline plus online presence at this point, the most fundamental piece that we see brands struggling with is, first of all, collecting the right form of data. It's fairly simpler in the digital space, but if you talk about retail stores, if you talk about offline touchpoints, having the right strategy to be able to do that is not, there's not a simple answer to it. There are multiple ways of doing it. You will see brands asking for phone numbers through loyalty programs. You will see at the time of purchase, brands incentivizing you for sharing the phone numbers or email addresses. There are ways to go about it, but that's one thing that needs to be thought through. The second piece is, once you have this data, how do you stitch it with the online touchpoints? That's something that usually a lot of brands struggle with, especially which have a huge presence both offline and online, right? So there technology plays a crucial part, right? If you see, and even technology before COVID and after COVID has changed a lot. During COVID, we saw so many offline customers, traditional partners wanting to use solutions like us, right? So our product teams were also encouraged to build the right solution to first of all ingest this data from offline touch points and then merge it with the online touch points and the behavior of the user. So just to sort of give you an example, if I talk about, say, the likes of Tira, if I talk about the likes of Starbucks, if I talk about the likes of Pizza Hut, Domino's, you basically, we anyway track what the user's browsing pattern is on the website and application. Through the mobile, we know that this user is in close proximity of your offline store. And I can very well trigger a message saying that, hey, you looked at this very product, which is a perfume on Tira. You can look at the same set of or similar items on the offline store. It is there in the inventory, similar price range. Why don't you go ahead and see this or explore this in the offline store, right? So that's where I think technology plays a part. But one call out in terms of getting this strategy right is that it's great to be present everywhere, but it's not a necessity to be just doing this for the sake of doing it, right? And that's again where technology plays a part, that it's good to be sending emails, it's good to be sending push notifications, good to be sending WhatsApp messages, but the real value of it is basically if you know that it's backed by a very, very valuable insight and it adds value for your end user, right? So again, that's where solutions like ours will help, essentially knowing that, hey, for this user, this is the right channel, this is the right time, this is the right product that needs to be sent to the user. So omnichannel, I mean, it's not just having a presence across channels, it's more about really thinking through what will work and then being able to sort of provide a better value for the end user, essentially.
Very true. I think the way technology is evolving, we just saw in the previous presentation before this session, the whole concept of CDP, single view of consumers, becoming common English, right? How many of us were comfortable with those kind of words maybe 2-3 years back? So that's the way the system is evolving, and that's the need of the hour in a way. Moving to Akhil. Akhil, I cannot see you, but let me pose a slightly different question, again borrowing on the heterogeneity theme. We heard personalization is super important. So do you believe that the whole statement that online is an endless aisle, I can put anything under the sun, as many products, as many SKUs, how does it matter? It's just a pixel, right? I may take some extra server space and put 100,000 more products. So does it really work like this? Do you think adding complexity to choice making is the way forward to deliver a better consumer experience? Or do you think fundamentally online and offline consumers again need to have different assortments, different pricing strategies? What do you make of it, given your experience?
Yeah. So I always, being the kind of brand we are and the kind of ecosystem we belong to, so we are a kind of an Indian context. We are a like semi-premium brand, not rich to luxury, but semi-premium brand. So everything starts from the consumer. That how well have we known our consumer and how well are we trying to know our consumer better. For example, when we talk about offline stores, tier 1 and tier 2 or tier 3 customer in the store in the cities behave very differently. For example, the stores back in NCR or Bangalore, the consumer when they come to the store, they say, okay, I don't need to be attended. I'm well aware about the trends, about the fashion. I know I've discovered everything online. I have seen a lot of YouTube videos. I'm well traveled. So leave me alone. I'll browse the store by myself, and in case I need a size or assistance, I'll call you. Okay, you not even 10 meters of proximity I don't require from you. Okay, but when we go to tier 2, tier 3 towns, there the customer still needs identification. So if you're not doing an eye contact with that consumer, if you're not addressing that consumer by the last name probably, or with like Bhabiji or something, so the consumer says, okay, I'm not well attended because you're doing a poor customer service. So it becomes very important what your consumer and where consumer is. As you rightly said, it's not just about throwing catalogs to consumer every now and then. It's all about creating the right mix for the right consumer. And like MoEngage and other such tools that are deployed by companies like ours, we are actually trying to create personas for the customer to understand what does the customer require? We are all apparel retailers, for example. So at times, because of supply chain issues, we might lose up, promoting one product in one particular season, but I had that customer for that product in the previous season. So can my various tools that are deployed into my system, can that identify my customer now that, okay, though I have missed that customer servicing last year, can I do it today because I have that information in my system? So it is all about that right curation, the right mix across online, offline. For me, it's all about, discover online, buy at ease, buy any way you want. This is what I see that my consumer heads to.
Thanks, Akhil. I think that's the nirvana in a way, to know the consumer, profile her properly, and give her what she wants in the most frictionless manner. Sameer, I think you represent a huge pedigree as you sit on this stage, and Meena Bazaar has been in action since last 50 odd years. Do you think moving from such a big pedigree equity, moving into online, what does it do for your bottom line? Do you think it's all about top line, traffic, conversions, getting more eyeballs, or it's also about the reason for business, which is to make money?
Yeah, absolutely. Again,
Yeah.
very interesting question. And on a personal note, this panel has been very insightful for me as a brand owner as well, with the experts here. So I'm sure everyone in the audience would be uh, getting a lot of insights as well. For any brand, it is very important to be getting the eyeballs. But at the end of it, the first core purpose is to earn a profit. To pay salaries, to take some money home, and take it forward. I think it is more in the mindset of a brand or a business owner that this conversation lies. For us, we've always looked at investment in technology, in supporting all these tools as an investment. That is there to build the future. That's there to build our customer journey, assist us in our customer journey. So I would encourage everyone to get on board with this omni-channel bandwagon. Definitely, you have to take a personal call. Like everybody's here talking, it's about the hyper-personalization of consumers. At the same time, it is based on hyper-personalization of brands as well. A lot of people said there are brands that don't want to be omni-channel, they want to be offline only or the online only. It's a call that brands have to take. For us, we are very happy. We've jumped on the omni-channel bandwagon in a couple of years. We are reaping the benefits. The initial investments that we've done in an inventory management system, in database, in digitizing everything has paid off. It has taken some time, but it's definitely paid off and really assisted us in the most difficult phase of our journey, COVID, with the pandemic. Having a digital system in place was the one thing that helped us, have sales still happening in the pandemic.
Absolutely, Sameer. I think that makes so much of sense, where you don't lose traction of the bottom line, because that's what's going to sustain you in the years to come and reap the benefits of growth that we are all talking about. Akhil, you have been waiting very patiently sitting next to me, and no conversation in today's world is possible now, as we see the full power of generative AI, and the way business models are getting upended, insights are getting created. So, given your vantage view, how do you see generative AI making a difference to the omni-channel model? What it could not do earlier, and what is the potential of looking at it ahead in ways which omni-channel is going to become even more possible, profitable, and doable?
Sure. Anybody who asks me a question that how is AI going to change anything, and my standard answer is it's like asking how is the internet going to change something, but also wait for 24 hours because something may change again. Right? I'm not sure how many of you woke up with the news that OpenAI launched their new model, which is text to video. As much as this conference is amazing and this panel is amazing, if you've not seen it, you can leave and please see it and come back. It is probably some of the most amazing tech anyone has ever built. And why I'm going with that is to answer your question. So what this tech does is, by a single sentence of prompt, OpenAI will actually create a minute-long video for you. So you can say, for example, I tried it this morning. It was a nice Friday morning and I wanted to have some fun. So I said, please make a video of two golden retrievers sitting on top of a mountain and doing a podcast. And it actually made an exact video of two dogs sitting on a mountain and doing a podcast. Um, Now, if you translate this to everything in retail, whether it is your catalog or whether it is your content or whether it is your branding, um, you know, a lot of people spoke about here on how tailor-made for customer, how the right product should be packaged in the right way on the right channel. All of this just becomes 10x with generative AI, because now imagine me as a consumer. I'm just going to use, my friend Snapdeal, his website. I'm on Snapdeal's website. The image I am seeing of the same product is different from the image that, let's say, Dhruv is seeing, based on my previous trends, my own purchase behavior. I mean, I'm just, without generalizing, let's say, I have young kids, right? So maybe the psychology of me as a shopper today is I like nice, cute things. So maybe the image that is packaged for me is a little bit more towards that domain, versus somebody who's slightly younger, wants to see a little bit more action, vibrant. The same product is shown in a different way. Now, just imagine the power of that in terms of just the online shopping experience and finally conversions. And then taking this further, omni-channel, what I keep thinking about is, we call it the cloud world and the real world, right? The cloud world is everything software, internet. One of the things that I've not been able to come to an answer with yet is that how will generative AI impact the real world? Or what will it do within stores or within the retail experience? Because a lot of it is driven by large sets of data that can make things like what I told you a lot easier. The easiest example, or not the easiest, but the one example we've thought of is, of course, things like, in-store robots become a lot more common because the advancement of some of these things. But besides that, I think the linkage still has to become better. But the use cases in online experiences are here already.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ankit. I think a lot of things, the power of customization that you talked about, right? Showing a content which is exclusive to me, which is not meant for X number of consumers for Y number of days. I think that power of customization and doing it cheaply is something which is amazing. Himanshu, you talked about the fact that can I talk in vernacular? And the ability of Gen AI to help us do natural language conversations is a great enabler for tier 3, 4 kind of consumers. Sandeep, I'll come back to you. And maybe I will request you to just think and let us know, what does it mean from an organization point of view when you start thinking omni-channel? So you are a pure play offline retailer, a pure play online retailer. What does it mean from an organization, design, culture, talent point of view that may be needed to be successful in this kind of a environment? If you can throw some light on that. Yeah.
Yeah, from our own experience, right? I think clearly, and I'm talking about having worked for two of the largest and most respected organizations in my career so far, right? Being adaptive to organizational change becomes very important, right? From my experience with Amazon, what I learned was what worked for Amazon in the West did not work when they launched in India, right? The landscape was different. The kind of people that were required to run Amazon's business in India was completely different. So Amazon had to adapt their culture to suit the Indian landscape. The hiring they did, they adapted, right? We adapted when we built teams. If you look right now, Amazon has multiple workplaces in the United States, but originally they were operating only from Seattle, but the business would happen all over the world, right? Including the entire landscape of North America. But the moment we started in India, we realized that wouldn't work, right? So we went and put our offices in multiple cities. We directly interacted with small and medium businesses, onboarded them, etc. Huge cultural change. At the same time, in Reliance, I've been a part of Reliance for 3 years now. One of the most respected organizations. But again, one of the key challenges we faced and we overcame was how to adapt a large existing organization, right, which has existed for like 2 decades now. I'm talking about Reliance Retail specifically. How to adapt that organization to accept and implement movement towards online, right? So what we did at Amazon was entirely different. What I'm doing here is completely different, right? A predominantly offline heavy business, largest offline retailer, like we've got about 18,000 stores now. Moving them, getting 18,000 stores to participate in omni-channel business is a huge challenge. So adapting to the channel becomes very important. So like I said, adapting culturally, people-wise becomes very important. And you will need to focus on enablers. Like I said in my previous response, right? One of the biggest enablers for you to successfully transition from a uni-channel mode to an omni-channel mode is technology. The faster you realize that and make the right investments, it's important. Like I heard Samir mention a couple of times that he's been happy with the investments they've made. They always treated technology as investment and not as cost. That becomes very, very important. And I think in both the organizations I've seen, specifically in Reliance, we started investing a lot in technology ahead of the curve so that by the time we have to implement stuff on the ground, it becomes easier. So, yeah.
Thanks. Sumit, Himanshu, any views from your experiences? What it takes to set up the right kind of an organization culture to work in omni-channel?
Yeah, I think this is an important question, and I have seen it from both ends of the spectrum. I spent most of my working life, first part was in FMCG, then large part of my life in retail from the year 2000 with Trent, and then till 2019, 2021 with Arvind. So it's been a long journey on the retail side. And then, of course, I had interest in e-commerce, so I said best is to jump to the other side and run an e-commerce company. Now, this transition in terms of understanding what is required for you to have omni play, and omni is, as I think was being explained earlier, being present in both the channels, is something which people find very daunting. And part of the daunting thing is in terms of, and I have been in retail and brand space for long, is that the at an org level, the organization is set in a manner where a large number of people who are key stakeholders do not know much about the other side. And I think that transition process to handhold and help, investment of technology is a given. You have to invest in technology, right? If your size is small, you can be faster, quicker with less investment because you can latch on to, as I gave some examples on ready-made technologies and can do that. If you're slightly bigger, it'll take. But the issue is that you have to handhold all these sets of people, and that to my mind is the biggest. They all kinds of things comes in. Price parity, right? If there's a difference in price parity, then the retail teams start screaming. Obviously the online channel, depending on how expensive ASP you have, if you have in the value segment or value plus, then getting it profitable from the word go is quite difficult. The marketing cost on this, whichever way you want to do it, whether it is your D2C site, these are expensive. So initially, actually, there's a lot of headwind that you face, essentially because of the way it is structured. So a lot of time needs to be spent on actually the team along with the investment in technology.
Oh, very well summarized, Himanshu, very well. We've got few minutes. Is it possible to take questions from audience? Yeah, I thought it'll be.
Hello, a very good morning to everyone. So the question that I have is, with generative AI coming and everything moving towards hyper-personalization, are we becoming divergent to standardization? And if yes, what kind of pressure would it pose on your manufacturing side, or the push strategy that we have to achieve the shorter lead time to also excel in the delivery? So if we have hyper personalization, how is going to affect the make to order or pull and push strategy we have for the lead time? Could you just give me some insights on that?
Who wants to go for it? Yeah.
See, there are two parts to this, right? And there are two different things. Personalization need not be customization. And these are two different things altogether. When I say that I will do A, B, C, which means in a shoe, I will ask you to determine the sole that you have, the upper that you have, etc., and create specifically in your shade, in your color, and then manufacture it and send it to you. Yeah, that's customization. That's a completely different thing altogether. We are discussing here personalization. We are all in the endless aisle, many of us are in the endless aisle business. We already have the merchandise. How do we make the experiences relevant for you? Rather than show you anything, how do we make it? One example is the product that you see yourself. One good example, and I'm taking an international example, is for the algorithms to understand what you want to see. For example, TikTok, yeah, knows exactly that. That's why it is so addictive. Netflix and the like, they know exactly what you want to see next. They're addictive by nature. And therefore, to understand this, and the extreme form is, of course, what was being talked about here, which is in terms of what Gen AI can do. That's the extreme form. But at a basic AI level itself and the MLs that we run, you don't need to see the same set of products as the person next to you because your context is very different. Yeah. So that's probably the difference between the two.
Sumit, you want to say something?
Actually, I wanted to pick up on that earlier question on the org part. I think the older or the more legacy your organization has, either online or offline, wherever you're going, okay, the harder it is, because the functional views come in the picture, right? At a steering com level or a XCOM level, you're very clear. You see it with clarity of what the future is, right? Or at least you think so, right? But at a functional level, that's where the real challenge is. And the question really is, how do you rally the team around that common goal? Right? Because as a function, I might say, as a marketing head, I might say, why am I spending so much money on acquiring customers there where I can do it very cheaply here? Or the product side might say, why do I really need to do this? Yeah. Okay, this is perfectly fine because it's a very, or why are you discounting my product? I don't need to discount, right? So it's a very functional view, and I think large part of this change is, as somebody rightly said, is about driving this change through the rank and file. And of course, that, like any other change management, it doesn't come easy.
Doesn't come easy. Right? No. And I will just maybe comment a couple of sentences on what you said. I think it's a very, very important point. I think all of us are very consumer obsessed. We're all thinking about consumer first, but it's equally important to make sure that the middle office, the back office is equally capable and ready for the front office, which is the consumer side of the story. So digital per se is prevailing, pervading all parts of the value chain. So whether it's smart factory or digital technologies, which helps you to reduce your lot sizes, be more responsive, supply chain planning systems, spot on. Because one of the biggest reasons we have seen is consumer experiences going bad is, I love this product, it's not available, put it, I'll let you know when it is available after 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. You have lost that consumer forever or for at least some time. So absolutely right. I think we should only promise as much as the back end and the middle office can keep up with our expectations from a personalization, customization point of view. One last question, anyone? The gentleman, I think, sorry, if you want to just.
Okay, I'm audible. Okay, if you look at today, a lot of new age brands, right? They come and the easiest way to do is do a price disruption, right? They offer a better price and the same product. But my understanding is, why should a brand take a stand when it comes to educating the consumer, right? When we talk about omni-commerce, we talk about people start the research online and then they probably buy online or offline. So what should be the brand stance be when it's come to educating the consumer? Because end of the day, all of us are social, right? There is an emotional angle to us. If a brand has invested in helping us to learn about a category, for me, my affinity towards the brand will always be higher, right? So I would always say, okay, if I can get the same brand, probably I would prefer that because the brand had invested and my knowledge has been increased. For example, we come from category of perfumes, right? The penetration is very low in India. If I educate a consumer on what is an EDP, what is an EDP, what is the difference between a DO, the entire DO market, right? For India, perfume is all about DO. So if I educate a consumer, where the brand should put more of the efforts, and if I have 100 rupees to spend, where should a brand spend that money? because end of the day, that education will not help you get the immediate effect, but surely the affinity will be higher. So I just want to understand from the panel, where should a brand take a stance versus doing a price disruption? Okay, I push a deal versus giving a education where you educate the consumer of the category and use that angle then to probably have the affinity.
Sandeep, you want to?
For me, I would honestly, even for the previous question, it all depends on the brand. What is the purpose of it? If your purpose is to gain, an audience, education is the first thing to do. It says 97% of the people are in a research mode. They are still figuring out what is it that they need, what is where to buy it from. So if you are putting out content and educating customers on what is the new trend or what mistakes to avoid or what to do or what not to do, all that will definitely help in getting eyeballs. Like I said, every brand needs tumor, it's top of mind recall. So content is the best way to do it. Educational content is the best way to do it, but it depends on a brand, what the purpose is. It's your personal mindset at the end of it. There are many examples. Paytm came first and taught everyone how to use a QR code or how to scan. The other apps, be it Bharat Pay or the others, they took advantage of it. So there are always going to be disruptors, but it's part and parcel of the game. It's your outlook. In today's day and age, which brand do you prefer? It depends on it. It does go to the journey of that brand as well. How strong they are and what, again, like I said, what the purpose is. I don't know if that helps in answering the question.
Can I add something to Sameer's call? So it is all about the agenda of acquisition versus retention. So when you're talking about retaining consumers, you start educating, you want the customer to come back to you and give a different experience. But because it's also a game of acquisition, because you have to grow your top lines as well. So this is when you start putting, your discounts or promotions or entry product pricing. So it will always be a combination. It can never be just one-way traffic that, okay, I'm only going to educate and I won't discount. So it will all be a combination.
Perfect.
Can I just add one quick thing to this, right? And it is important, very important question. Where do you put your marketing dollars, right? See, if you are the leader in that category, right? You must invest marketing dollars on category education, EDT, EDP, and then coming down to deodorants. If you are not the category leader, you should focus on the education, whatever you need to do, on what your product or range is all about. Do not take the category leaders initiative and waste marketing dollars would be my advice.
Perfect. Sandeep, you had some point?
No, I was just saying this is a conversation completely digital marketing based. So maybe a separate panel or a separate forum. But definitely it's very important for every brand to know what is the purpose and what they want to achieve out of that.
I think most of it is spoken, but I think one thing that you should worry less about now, I think a few of them already spoke about this. 10 years ago or 2 decades ago, communicating about your brand would have been a nightmare and very expensive in India. With the advent of internet, with the advent of e-commerce, that job is done. Like he was explaining, what Paytm did, companies like Amazon, Flipkart have already done for you. And you can ride them, right? You are going to list your perfume on Amazon. Amazon is getting eyeballs to you. You just need to do a good job by putting the right information on the PDP, the detail page of your product. So you should not worry about it. It's not a question of either or. You should do both. Do price war where when you're ready, you want to promote your brand, go ahead and do it. But that does not mean you don't educate or communicate about your brand to your customer. Pretty easy these days. You should definitely do it.
Superb. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your patient listening. Thanks, panel, for your amazing insights and conversations. I must just end by saying that India is known as a land of shopkeepers. And I think thanks to Omnichannel, thanks to marketplaces, thanks to the whole access which is getting created, hopefully, and as we are learning from some of the more advanced economies like China, Germany, it's the power of MSMEs which is getting unleashed thanks to the omni-channel work, right? So the kind of supplier base that is getting created because of omni-channel is really going to drive the growth agenda in the years to come. So thank you once again, everyone. Looking forward for a good day ahead. Yeah, thank you.